And we are live. Happy Friday, everybody. It's been a couple weeks. I had weddings to go to and all kinds of fun stuff. So it has been a couple weeks since the Rebel Roundtable has been here. But today I'm super excited because Kirsten Howe, who is a fantastic estate planning attorney and the managing attorney at Absolute Trust Counsel, is here to talk about law firm design and all the nerdy things that I like to talk about. And I have known Kirsten for way since I was a baby lawyer, brand new baby lawyer. I met Kirsten. I was like, who is this lady? She's fantastic. She's so smart and professional. And I always said I wanted to be Kirsten when I grow up. I'm really excited to see what she's done with her firm. So welcome. Thank you for being here, Kirsten.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So for those who don't know you, can you just do a quick introduction of where your firm is, what you do, and that kind of thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
My law firm is Absolute Trust Counsel. We are located in Walnut Creek, California. We do only trusts and estates work. So we do estate planning and we do the after death administration of either trusts or estates. And we call that probate. I've got a team. It varies in size, but probably optimally, there are about 10 of us. So just to give you kind of a picture.
And how many attorneys are in those 10?
3.
Okay, very good. Now, and I don't know the answer to this because I never prep these questions ahead of time, but it just popped in my head. When you started your firm, was it always called Absolute Trust Counsel, or did you make a change?
No, when I started my firm, I was just me, and I called myself Law Office of Kirsten Howe. Okay. And I was a solo, and it was a sole proprietorship, if anybody cares about that kind of thing.
It gets asked a lot.
And then it was maybe about 8, 9, 10 years ago-ish. I started thinking, well, if I ever want to retire, but I want the firm to keep going, maybe it should have a different name. And that's not what lawyers usually do. They name it the firm, Pillsbury, Madison, and Sutro. Yep. And for 150 years, it's been called Pillsbury, Madison, and Sutro. But I didn't want to do that. So anyway, that's when I both incorporated and became Absolute Trust Counsel.
And they call them that for 150 years, and they're still using the same technology and business model years ago too.
Probably.
But that brings up an interesting point. Like, you made that decision. You decided you were going to create something that could be sold, or it could go on without you. How did you think of that, or what made you think to do that?
Well, I always wanted, I shouldn't say always. It became apparent to me as I became more experienced as an estate planner that there are a lot of estate planners who are truly solos. They are not partnered with anyone. They don't have other attorneys working for them. They're solos. And for whatever reason, that the practice area can lend itself to that. Mm-hmm. And I was getting a lot of business that was consisting of people who did an estate plan 15 years ago, and now their lawyer is gone and they've got to switch law firms, and yay, great for me. But I wanted to see if that maybe I could prevent that from happening to my own clients. Okay. They shouldn't have to be chasing, it happens. Lawyers retire and lawyers die, but I wanted to see if I could fix that, at least for my clients.
Yes. And it's nice that you've seen that pattern, because I'm always telling lawyers, find the problem that's out there, find the pattern of something and solve that problem, because that's often what people are looking for or need. The good marketing strategy. Yeah.
That is great advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
So you've described, and so I titled this Build It Like You Mean It, because I'm a huge fan of intentional law firm design and not following the status quo and trying to find new ways of doing things. But something you said to me was on business model design was like the expert's expert or the widget maker. What do you mean by that? Expert's expert, the widget maker?
Yeah. Well, I think that in a lot of practice areas, there's room for different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And so when I say expert, I mean somebody who's doing stuff that really nobody else in that particular practice area does or does well. And so others in that practice area would be referring business to them, even though they're kind of technically competitors or could be considered competitors, but really they're not, because this person's doing something that I don't do. So in my area of practice, the example of that would be somebody who works with the very wealthy clients, and they're doing very complex tax planning, and they have an LLM in tax, and maybe they're even accountants, maybe they're CPAs. They're just truly, you could look at their CV and go, yeah, that's an expert.
Yeah.
And I did make a decision fairly early on in my practice that I wasn't going to do that. Didn't want to go back to school, get a, study tax, didn't want to do that. So I send business to those people, even though we're both estate planners, but I send them business. On the widget end, I think I see it as a spectrum. It's not, buckets, but it's a spectrum. On the widget end, we probably are all familiar with law firms that advertise in the newspaper, or they send you an invitation to come to Scott Seafood for dinner and a presentation on estate planning, and they advertise in the paper, get a revocable living trust for $799, that kind of thing. So they are pulling from a very wide potential client base. They're meeting in a very efficient way with prospects, and they're kind of moving them through their process in a pretty systematic, almost automatic way.
Yeah.
And so it's like a high volume, low cost style. And I knew I didn't want to be that, because a lot of reasons. Philosophically, that doesn't match how I think most people should do their estate planning, but also you got to have a big infrastructure for that. And so I think
all kinds of things.
You got a lot of people who are just there answering phone calls and that kind of thing. I knew I didn't want to do that. That's more of a personality thing, like managing 10 relationships. Okay, I can deal with that, but having 6 direct reports that are also managing 10 relationships, no, I didn't want to do that. So I kind of landed in the middle, I guess you'd say, and I don't know that I have a good descriptor for that one.
But I think a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of lawyers can relate, because they don't want to be like the high volume mill type firms that, and in some practice areas are more prone to that than others. The transactional consumer side tends to be, but they want that, high quality relationship building. And I think it's really important to identify that. And I'm glad that you identified that that's what you wanted, because that's like the first mistake I think that people make when they open a firm, is they go so broad trying to be everything to everyone that it's burnout central. Because it's not their style, it's not their personality. So
that is a good point. I will say I didn't get deliberate about that until after my firm had been running for a bit. So in a way, I made that mistake that you just described. But then I kind of just naturally kind of focused myself, and then eventually started working with a coach, and I went, oh, okay, now I get it. And so then started really deliberately working toward the thing that I saw as.
And I probably shouldn't call it a mistake. We all learn by doing things and figuring out that's not what we want to do. Lawyers tend to get into this mindset that once they start doing something, it's really hard to change and switch, like practice areas, things like that. And I want everyone to know, if you want to change your practice area, you want to do something different, start now. Don't wait till it's perfect. Just switch.
Yeah. I was a business lawyer, and I just thought, what I really want to be is a trust and estates lawyer. And so I did it. I didn't ever work for a trust and estates lawyer. I had no idea what a law firm like that was like, but I just decided. So I left, and I just had two things in mind. I got to learn how to do this. I got to learn the law, and I got to get clients.
Mhm.
And so there wasn't a lot of thought put
Right.
into what do I want my law firm to look like 10 years from now when I've got it down.
Yes.
But eventually I did.
Well, and there's been a lot of thought as the years have gone by, and you've made intentional decisions to move your model to something that you want. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about like you worked with a coach and what does the like a lifestyle play into your business design? Like how
Oh,
does
yeah.
what are you looking at there?
Yeah. I think lifestyle should be a very important consideration.
Mhm.
It's going to, that's going to drive you from one practice area to another. You know,
Yep.
if you're going to be a litigator, that's a different lifestyle, because you don't control your calendar. The
Yeah.
judge does, and opposing counsel even more so. But yeah, so if you're going to be, and depending on the practice area, if you're going to be an expert's expert, maybe your clients, they all have your cell phone number and they expect you to answer anytime you
Anytime.
want,
Yeah.
anytime they want you. Maybe, it depends on the practice area, of course.
Mhm.
And when you're working in that expert's expert, if you go on vacation, maybe you're not making as much money
Right.
because nobody can do the work when you're gone. And maybe you're missing opportunities unless you're willing to answer your phone when you're on vacation. So, those are lifestyle decisions to a degree. And
And you
also, I mean, I think of lifestyle as part of it is what do you want to be doing every day in
that's
your,
actually where I was going next. And like, do you think too many lawyers hate the firm that they're working in that they've built because they never thought about what they want, what they actually want their day to day to look like?
yeah, I could imagine that that's true. So I mean, I could be a true solo at my level, um, not the expert's expert, doing the same kind of estate planning that I do, without the support staff. And that would mean that I'm doing a lot of, you know,
Lawyer stuff.
sitting in front of my drafting software instead of coming up with a design and handing it to somebody else who will sit in front of the drafting software. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing that really drove me to the position that I am at now. It was really for me more about, I don't want to do all these things over here. I just really want to do this. And how do I get to that point?
Yep. Well, I think that's a lot of us because when I started my firm, I was like, I don't ever want to have employees. I don't want to have to manage. I had been in management and didn't ever want to manage again. But then as you start working through things like, wait, I shouldn't actually be doing these things. How can I make it work? And the world of remote work now and outsource, there's all kinds of services out there that you actually don't have to have employees if you
Right.
set it up. You can, but you need to design it the way that you want to run it. So build it
Yeah.
like you mean it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I kind of remember when you switched to Absolute Trust Counsel. Now that you say that, I don't, it's so funny, like how something just gets so ingrained and you're like, oh, that's just how it's always been, right?
But no,
Um,
it wasn't.
did you work with a marketing professional to make that decision and that kind of thing?
I did. I had, maybe about a year before the change, I hired a marketing firm to help me. I mean, that was the big driver. Like, I knew I wanted to do that. I'm going to completely rebrand myself. And so I did hire a marketing firm to help me with that. And they helped me come up with the name. I didn't think of that name. They came up with maybe 10 names, and we threw a bunch of them out, but then we massaged a few of them, and that's where we landed.
Yeah. And you have the domain, it's great, easy to remember type thing. And it's really your brand now. So I love to see it everywhere. Um, and you have a podcast too,
Oh, I
right?
do.
You had a
Yeah.
podcast for a long time.
And Jen, you were, as you recall, you were one of my very first guests on my podcast.
I wasn't. It was, we had to go in person back then,
That was,
like
yeah,
in your office.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. We had a recording machine and we had two big boom mics and
Yeah, I remember that.
that was
I
the,
don't think I'd ever been on a podcast before that, or very few.
I
Um,
hadn't ever.
yeah.
And yeah, so that was all sort of in conjunction with, okay, I hired this new marketing firm. Now I got to rebrand it. I got to push that out to people. So yeah, that was fun, and we're still going. We still have the podcast, but it has really morphed. Now it's video, it's live streamed, just like this. Um, and it's. I think they have to be video now. I don't know. I don't know.
I like videos easy, and like 80% of people would rather watch a video than read or
They're not going
listen.
to read. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
But
think,
the pure audio format is most accessible.
yeah.
That's the thing that gets you through your chores on Saturday morning, right?
Right. And the nice thing about technology is all that can be like you can take the video that you record and strip off the audio, and it
Yeah,
can be all kinds of different things.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So,
The nice thing about technology, it's ever changing, but
and
um,
mostly always getting better.
one of the things we've talked about over the years is that you're not really in growth mode necessarily anymore, that you're looking at that succession planning and being pretty intentional about it, which I really love because, again, it's different than how most lawyers think of their firms. What does that look like for you? What does that succession planning look like?
Well, um, that is such a good question. And it, 6 months from now, I might have a different answer. It depends on things working the way I want them to work.
Right.
So, ideally, this is the vision that I've always had, is ideally I would grow internally my own succession plan. In other words, I would have associate attorneys working for me. I would mentor them. I would transform them into business owners. So that's a possibility, but that depends on having the right associate,
Yeah.
and them actually wanting that. So
Exactly.
I think I also need to be, and I think these are aligned. It's not different. It just might be a different little end piece
Right.
to get prepared, have the firm prepared so that someone could swoop in and buy it.
Yeah.
That it's not dependent on me being in the mix.
Right. And I think that's actually, it's not two different outcomes. It's just two different strategies to get to the end result.
You're absolutely right. It's the same outcome.
Yeah.
I'm gone. Somebody else is the owner.
I hear a lot from attorneys who are, they're like, I want to retire, but my associates don't want to take over the firm. And sometimes that's a function of the associates don't want to be business owners. Some of them are, they like the widget making, they like that kind of thing.
Some people want to be technicians.
Yeah. And some of it is the firm systems are antiquated, or they haven't, like, there's no value to them. They can start their own firm with new technology, right, and not have to buy the firm or take over a firm that isn't updating their systems. So I see both sides of that sometimes.
Yeah. And also I think in order for somebody to want to take over the firm, it's got to be independently of the owner productive. Like you got to have a way of making clients come to you.
Yes.
That doesn't depend on your personality and your being there in the conference room. So that's, because that can be an intimidating piece for associates. What? I got to market?
Well, and some of it's control issues too. Like if your name is on the firm, you want everything to be done like the way you would do it. Yeah. And so it's hard to hand that over and let associates do client consults and business development because.
Oh yeah. I think attorneys are, as a group, notorious for that. I can't, how can I possibly delegate?
Right.
I can't. I'll get sued for malpractice.
Right. Right.
No, if you have the right, with, this is a broad statement, but if you have the right systems in place, you can do that. You can delegate.
Yeah, the systems and training is really important. I find the old school way of just sink or swim, throwing associates out there is really outdated and is not going to get you where you want to be.
No,
helping them.
Yeah, you have to have a system for training them, and you have to have a system that they're going to jump into once they're trained. And that's, I don't know about you, you're like a lot of years younger than me, but when I was a brand new lawyer, that's what it was. It was just, okay, here's your desk. I'm going to start bringing you cases.
Yes. No, there are still firms, when I talk to firms and I talk to other organizations, that they've never had like any formal training. They just throw them into court and say, here, it's kind of like a hazing ritual almost. If they can figure it out, then they like, and that's like, generationally speaking, we are a little bit different generation, but that's not what anyone younger wants these days. They want like that mentorship and that training to feel confident in what they're doing. And I think it serves the industry better.
It works for both sides.
Yeah.
Why would you want this person that you put all this effort into finding and hiring to not succeed?
Right.
Wouldn't you do everything you could to help them succeed?
Yeah. And hate being a lawyer. I hate that when I hear lawyers say, oh, my kid wants to go to law school and I'm trying to convince them not to go because I hate being a lawyer. I'm like, well, you don't have to hate being a lawyer.
Right.
You can change it tomorrow, what you do, and it would be different. But
right.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. But we hear it all the time. You go to an attorney function and how are you doing? Oh, I'm so busy.
Or I hate my clients, or I don't like.
It's pretty much a conversation that's on the negative side.
Exactly. And I think
doesn't have to be
that. Really fun. If you do something that you enjoy doing, like you can't just pigeonhole yourself into something and then never change it if you don't like it.
Yeah. And I would sort of circling back to the conversation about the 3 different styles, or 3-ish different styles. I consider my firm to be a little bit of a hybrid. We do estate planning, and that's kind of in the middle territory. We're not widget makers, but we're not the experts. But right. I do have a couple of little niche areas, sub-practice areas. We do special needs planning. But I also do what we call Medi-Cal planning, which means working with elderly clients and their families. Maybe someone's incapacitated. They're worried about, can we qualify for Medi-Cal? How can we? And I'm the only one in the firm who does that. I don't know that I'm ever going to train somebody else to do that. It's very top heavy kind of work. It's not really, I still have somebody else printing the binders and that kind of stuff, but it's very top heavy work. And the reason I said this at this moment is you were talking about, you can actually like your job. That's the sliver of my practice that warms my heart the most. Yeah. That is my passion project. So you can be both.
Yeah. But it's great to have those things that you really enjoy doing, that maybe they don't make the most money for the firm, or they don't do anything that's, lucrative that way, but it's something you enjoy doing. And so, and that makes a lifestyle firm work.
Exactly. That's a very, very good point.
And you could technically market for an associate or someone who was interested in that same area if you wanted to, but it's not like, it's what makes you happy, and the next person that owns the firm, that may not be their thing. So it's not necessarily that has to transfer with them. So
exactly. And, from my perspective right now, the thought of trying to train and mentor someone to do that.
Right.
Do I want to do that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's other things you could do too. You could also like teach a CLE on it, or a class, just to kind of like pass that knowledge along, because I do find that a lot of organizations are missing institutional knowledge that leaves, they retire or they pass away, and some of that doesn't get passed on. So I'm always encouraging lawyers, like, even if you don't want to hire someone and train them, be open to working with, legal aid or someone that can learn a skill that they may not have been able to do internally. So
yeah, that is a very good point. And maybe that's something that I need to focus on, because there really aren't enough people.
I know I get asked for that every once, because I ask for a lot of referrals for lawyers, and you're one of the only ones I know that does Medi-Cal. So
yeah. and there's such a tremendous need, and it's only going to get greater. So maybe that's what I need to do, is I need to go out and share my knowledge.
Share the knowledge. Talk to law schools.
Young lawyers will say, hey, okay, I could do that.
Young lawyer sections at the bar association. That's what I would recommend, is just go talk to young lawyer sections and see if we can convince people to take up some of these
practice areas, these little orphan areas.
Yeah. And the special needs planning too. There are very few attorneys I know that are like super competent in that area and are willing to take on cases there.
Yeah, that is true. I think there are more special needs planners than the Medi-Cal.
Yep.
But it is another area where we really need young lawyers coming up to do that work, because there's a tremendous pool of people who need that help.
And there's a lot of people who need help that maybe can't afford like a high dollar value attorneys that you could create systems for and help them with. I'm always harping on that too, is like, just solve a problem.
That is absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
Again, I always said I wanted to be Kirsten when I grew up. She's been a fantastic role model for me over the years. So thank you for that. As we try to wrap up on this Friday morning, one thing first of all, where can people find you at? What's your website? How can people find you?
Sure. Our website is absolutetrustcounsel.com, and counsel is spelled COUNSEL. Most attorneys would know that,
right?
But very often clients do not. And like I said, we're in Walnut Creek. Phone number 925-943-2740. We are a very fully staffed in-person firm, so you can always reach us. And you can even just walk into the office.
That's not as normal as it used to be.
No, it's not. But in our practice area, we have a lot of face-to-face and a lot of in-person.
Yep. And that's a design choice, FYI. If you're listening you want clients who want to walk in, then have an office space. If you don't want clients walking in, then don't. That's a design choice.
Yes. And my work could be done remotely, and it is done. We have we have clients all over California.
Yep.
And they never come into Walnut Creek. So you can do whatever you want in that regard.
Just make the choice. It's an intentional choice of what you want to do. Yeah.
It is a choice.
Okay. So we also have the Rebel Roundtable anthems on Spotify. What song do you want to add to our list of songs you listen to pump yourself up?
The song that I like for this reason is Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. Just those first few notes get you going.
Yep.
And they're so recognizable.
Yep.
You just need like 4 notes and you go, oh, I know what this is. And it's great.
It's so much fun to have this list because everyone's got this wide range of music, but it's also like, the first 4 notes often clue you into what it is. So I will get that added, and thank you for adding to our Pump You Up playlist. Thank you for spending Friday morning with me and talking through some of this. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Jen. I know you always say things so kind about me. I want to be Kirsten when I grow up, but I have admired you all these years as well because of being a rebel. You've always been that, but finally branded it.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And for everybody else, next Friday is Halloween. We're going to have all kinds of fun on Halloween. So tune in.